here we are, realrecoverytalk.com.
For the 5th time.
Yes.
It's been a lot of technical difficulties, but I think we are on our way. Just have to get a couple of things ironed out. But first things first, thank you for watching on YouTube. Is anybody watching? Are you out there? This is just a test. I just want to see if it works, but I think it's working. What I'm curious to know is how the audio sounds, because I think it might have crackled. Did you hear it crackling?
I heard it crackling on the last one a little bit.
Yeah. Destiny, your episode's coming out this on March 10th.
It is.
You excited?
A lot of emotions with it, but I think overall, yeah, I'm really excited to see how it turned out.
Yeah, Stevie Buckets, you were on it too.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Our humorous Buckets.
Steve says, I add more to the podcast than just humor.
100%.
I know.
I know. I'm just saying.
100%.
I mean,
all 6 personalities you bring to the table.
Exactly. All my mental health issues.
Yeah.
Just for the
All of
world
them.
to see.
We love it. Dr. T, if you can hear if this is working, I just want you to know I am your biggest fan.
Oh, how nice.
You're great.
That was nice. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Anytime. And anytime you want to talk, I'm always here.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for joining this live. We'll see you later.
Really? That's it?
Goodbye.
Why? I thought we were going to keep going.
I think well, we're still going. So,
Yeah.
Oh, do we have some live?
Oh,
who's on here?
Dr. T just said, "I love you more, Dustin."
Oh, so this worked.
So nice.
Stop it.
All right, fine. You want to keep going?
We can keep going.
We'll keep
Why
going.
not? Why not just to see where Destiny's over it?
No, I'm not over it. If we can get a conversation going. I love the organic stuff. Let's
answer the question that you got yesterday. You said that a young lady came and was talking to you about what was it again? Grief and loss or something?
So her question to me last night when we spoke was, how do you deal with guilt and shame after a relapse, trying to come back, whether back in treatment or back in the rooms? What are some things that you utilize as far as tools, as far as relapse?
Yeah. What'd you tell her?
So my point of view on it, being, having a few years in the program I got sober with some pretty hardcore people in recovery, and really in my experience from relapsing, there is nothing that I can do about the relapse. So feeling shame, feeling guilt is not going to change anything, any actions, anything that I did as far as during none of that's going to change. It happened point, period, blank. So I try and shift my focus to, okay, what can I do now to make sure I continue to put one foot in front of the other? Because no matter any negative feelings that I had towards it, it doesn't change the fact that it happened. It's about what can I do now and what can I take from that lesson to hopefully make sure it doesn't happen again. And I just, instead of looking back, I have to continue to shoot forward,
There's a line in the big book that says, "We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it."
Nor wish to shut the door on it.
I think that holds true to this. Steve, you do NA, so I don't know if you're familiar with that line. Are you?
Yeah, we just love relapse, and I don't know you're implying, but I'm not. I mean, actually, I'm not familiar with that line, but we generally, we have our own language for different stuff, and we have some similar language too. Everybody, like yesterday, we had an alumni speak who had like 3 years in relapse, and now he has like 9 months, maybe.
Okay,
that's so cool. I love it.
How many relapses have you had?
One.
And what was it like whenever you had to come back?
It's weird, dude. Like, and I feel like maybe even some of our alumni feel that because we get so close with them. And I went to a very small place too, similar to this. So you get close with everyone. I felt like I let a lot of people down, and that actually kept me out longer. Just a shame of walking in and, you know what I mean, and knowing better and doing different. For me, it's like cliche, and we're kind of talking about this before, but like A lot of questions were answered in my relapse in terms of like, am I an addict? Can I use successfully? Those were answered. I cannot, and so for me it was, and it didn't last too long. I relapsed, maybe, I don't know, like, I was like clean 8 months, relapsed, and I came back in at 24. I think the first time I was like 21, 22, something like that. 22, I think. But it was like really bad. It was way worse than when I previously entered treatment the first time. And I needed that to, as horrific as it was, I needed that to happen
Yeah.
because it answered a lot of questions.
Like what?
Um, Again, because again, I was like relatively young, when I was 24. Like, can I use successfully? Because the idea of not using ever again in my whole life was horrifying to me. You're taking away my medicine. That's what I used to cope. Um,
So am I really an addict?
yeah, am I really
type
an
thing?
addict? That's like the big one. Even like, do I like this lifestyle? And I like it. The first couple days of the relapse are great, but then I go downhill real quick.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so, so that's just, I saw the tape going forward. You know what I mean? Like, I could see this repeating over and over again. And I didn't want to and this is before fentanyl and stuff like that. So it wasn't like people were overdosing like crazy. The idea of just like doing treatment, a life of treatment or jails and all that seemed horrible enough. So even though I'm like, I didn't go in thinking, oh, I'm going to be clean the rest of my life. I'm just going to be like, I'm so exhausted. I am just going to be open to suggestions like I never have been before and being completely honest and transparent. So it definitely brought me to my knees in terms of the actual surrender, just the exhaustion.
I mean, doing what we do, we see a lot of people come in and out that have relapsed in the double digits,
Mhm.
and I d I myself haven't relapsed post going to treatment. I went to treatment one time and everything was good, but, um prior going to treatment, I would tell myself, "Okay, I'm not gonna drink today." And I would last a couple of days and then I would drink.
Yeah.
And that was like, so I don't know if that's not considered a relapse because I was never really in recovery. I didn't know what recovery even was at the time.
Yeah, I don't, because I mean, we all have those. I mean, is it a relapse if my dealer didn't answer for a day? You know what I mean? Did I have a day clean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I relapsed and I don't, yeah.
No, it was just a really crappy day.
Yeah, exactly. This is a very
Yeah.
frustrating ass day.
So when I see people that have like, they've relapsed 10, 15, 20 times, I can't help but wonder, like, what is it? Like, what are you missing? Or do you just not want to be clean? I don't get it. I don't understand the mindset. But it's easy. The reason I don't understand that is because I haven't gone through it, fortunately
I
for
think
myself. And I learned from obviously other people's experiences when it comes to relapse. It's not that I love hearing about people's relapses, but it obviously helps me because especially whenever I see somebody, and I have seen that, they have 10 plus years of sobriety
Mhm.
end up relapsing. And it's like, well, what could have possibly happened, after having 10 years of sobriety? And the only thing that I can come up with in those situations is that we'd think that maybe things will be different. You put 10 years of sobriety together, or even 2 or 3 or 5. I'm not surprised when I see somebody relapse after like 3 months,
sure.
because you haven't gotten all the fruits of sobriety. You're probably still, it's still very fresh. But when you get into the years, I think that people are more having the mindset of maybe things will be different this time. Maybe I can just have a beer or two.
And I think that comes from becoming detached from the program.
Mhm.
Because, like, for me, with time, I see people come in and, like, I know, like, "Oh, wow, it's still messed up out there," and I get grateful not being in that space anymore. So if you have 10 years, you take someone's 10 years and they stop going to meetings, or not, it does not fresh. It's not like they see newcomers, or it's not like you're working with or taking someone through the steps. So you don't see that. So it becomes more romanticized. I feel it's easier,
I love that you
you
brought that
know?
up because the common reason that I hear from old timers that have multiple years, whether it be 5, 10, 15, they strayed away from the program, whether life showed up and they got too busy or, they thought that they were cured or whatever the case may be, they stopped doing the things in the beginning that got them clean in the first place, whether it was fellowship or meetings or sponsees or whatever. They strayed away from that. And maybe then that thought creeped in, hey, you can try one and see, what happens. And then from there, it's just all downhill. And that's from many different experiences that I've heard from people in the room.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, have going and having a lot of clean time and then relapsing, I can imagine it being a hard well, it's said amongst people that are in recovery that have relapsed. I haven't heard one time that it was easier coming back.
I've yet to hear that.
It's always harder, and
Mhm.
each relapse gets worse and worse and worse until, it ends in one of three things: jails, institutions, or death.
Yeah.
And we've seen all of it,
And
you
death
know?
could be not I mean, just to be real, death could be overdose or suicide,
Right.
body just giving out, especially with alcohol, that type of thing.
Well, we had a young man not long
Yeah.
ago, within the last 6 months, 33 or 34 years old.
Mhm.
He put together, I don't know, 4 or 5 months of sobriety,
Mhm.
relapsed, and then
Stop.
could not
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
In and out of detoxes probably 5 or 6 times over the course of 3 months, and then ultimately his body just gave out.
I
Eh
mean, he went to I'm gonna say, literally 10 detoxes in, like, a month,
Yeah.
and AMA and all that stuff.
And, we're all telling him like, "Dude, you're gonna die, you're gonna die." And that just goes to show the power of alcoholism.
Yeah.
I mean, he was what, 34?
33.
33 years old, and his body just shut down, But going back to the guilt and the shame of a relapse, like, I don't think that I definitely think I like what you said, Steve, that there's something to learn about something to learn from it. And I really think that it boils down to, do we want to turn it into a learning experience, or do we want to focus on the fact that we screwed up again,
Mhm.
you know? And I think a lot of times people, rather than seeing what they can learn from it, especially the more times that you relapse, you just get into this mindset of I'm never going to be able to do this,
Mhm.
and then you can't, for whatever reason, see the learning experience from it. And it's really mind-boggling, but if you can get to the place where, analyze. I tell people, and I didn't come up with this, I heard it from somebody, but failing forward,
Mhm.
that's a very common theme, especially amongst, like, entrepreneurs and stuff. They're like, "Oh, I have to fail at business 20 times before one bus business succeeds."
Mhm.
And if you can kinda take that same mindset, I'm not condoning relapsing 20 times,
But if it
but
happens,
if it happens, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. You have to keep going, and don't, focus on all the things that you could have done or should have done or would have done. I don't know. It's tough.
it's very tough.
Well, and one thing I learned that you said is like taking it as a learning experience. Not only that, when the woman and I were talking last night, it was like, at some point down the road, if we're still here and we're still clean, someone's going to come to the next person and say like, "Hey, when you relapse, how did you handle it?" And now you have experience to pass on that this is how I did it. So, and that's what I love about the program is like all of these dark times, whether it's the guilt and shame, with relapsing and stuff like that. Like you get to turn it around and pass it on for hope or, experience to the next person that is struggling with something very similar, you know?
Yeah, and there's not many people like me that have gone to treatment one time, picked up a white chip, and then has been sober ever since. And some people will say, "Oh, you must not have been a real alcoholic," and it's like, well, we don't even need to go down that road.
Yeah, and
You
there are.
clearly haven't heard stories yet.
I mean, there's plenty of people who pick up one chip, key tag, what have you. I mean, technically, my good friend Keith, who was on the podcast like a month or two ago, whatever. Technically, I'm pretty sure he has one key tag. He just took hardcore using for like 20 plus years.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when you're done, you're at least you're done until you're not done. Until you kind of take your will back and
Right.
all that stuff, like getting away from the program. But if you're done and you keep up with the program, I think relapse is very unlikely.
Well, and the reason that I brought that up in terms of there not being many of me, the point behind that is that there's plenty of people out there that have relapsed multiple times. There's no reason that you can't find somebody that has relapsed multiple times in
Sure.
the double digits, maybe even triple digits, to learn from, that have now put together a lot of sobriety time that you
Right.
can learn from. If somebody comes to me and says, I've relapsed 10, 15, 20 times, can you help me? I can help you from my experience with working with others.
Mhm.
I can't help you from my own experience though, because I haven't gone through it. I can't tell you the things that I did once I relapsed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I guess the point is that there's a ton of people out there.
Sure.
It's a matter of opening up and talking to people about
Well,
it.
and I'm glad that you said that, because if someone comes to me and I don't have personal experience with it, I guarantee you I know 5 to 10 other people that do,
Yeah.
where it's not just like a, hey, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't have
Mhm.
experience. I don't, but I can definitely point you in the direction of a few people that do. So there's always somebody to relate with that you can talk to.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for real. And that's whatever the experience is. There's someone that probably went through it,
Yeah, and even worse.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got through it clean, sober, what have you.
Well, that was fun. That was a good 15 minutes of
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
That
I think that
was.
went
Look at
really
that.
good.
Yeah.
That was chill. I like the energy.
We'll see how it turns out. See
Yeah.
if anybody watched it, and if they didn't, it'll still be up on the videos.
At least Dr. T watched it.
Yeah, Dr. T, thank
Assuming
you.
she didn't.
Dr. T, our number
Yeah,
one
she better
supporter.
watch it. I mean,
Yeah.
she's one of the hosts, so I mean, she's kind of obligated to. Who
Right.
knows about Ben? He's maybe out surfing or something. Or
Could be. Who knows with him?
all right. Well, thank you for watching this live. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you could always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, it's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later. Now I'm going to get up and make the awkward walk to turn off the live stream.
Oof, that's tough.
Yeah. So don't say anything inappropriate.
No. Why does it have to be me? Steve can do that
Well,
sometimes too. It's not
I
just
definitely
me.
can. But I didn't.
Don't say anything inappropriate. All right, mouth shut.